Last night I couldn't sleep watching Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev play. It was an incredible match. And I was thinking, why didn't I say anything about the show today? Probably because, yesterday when I made it, I was in such a hurry. But it was a great match, and my prediction came true. Sascha Zverev did win for the exact reason that I thought would become a factor. And I was amazed that the commentators didn't really notice this, but more on that later. I knew I had to wake up early today and make a show before I go teach some tennis lessons. I got to leave soon, so we're going to be short and brief again. But I've done this joke before. Last night's match was like the SNL Stefan sketch. It had everything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Saturday Night Live Stefan sketch. Anyways, last night's match had everything. It had over 100 winners. It had hamstring cramping. It had men caressing each other on the hips. It had Jimmy buckets. It had physical strength and conditioning coaches thinking about losing their job. It had inner thigh massage. It had grimacing from extreme inner thigh massage. It had face covering. It had head, face, shoulders, and chest covering. It had Ben Roethlisberger's tweeting about Sascha Zverev's and abuse allegations. And it had the Hitler guy. What the hell is the Hitler guy? Where did that come from? That was a crazy match last night. And then we got this, the Hitler guy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch this clip. This is from the Telegraph YouTube channel. Go! The most famous Hitler phrase. Of course, I was instantly wondering, what is that?
This is unbelievable. Put your hand up.
He went after him. Who said that? Now, ironically, the Hitler guy was Hitler's style forcibly removed by some big strong guys. Some big strong Gestapo guys came in and took the Hitler guy away.
Time is called, but nothing's going to happen as long as this situation is.
This is nuts. And good for them, crowd's cheering. Get that Hitler guy the hell out of here. It was in the middle of the fourth set. I had a couple questions in my mind. One, who the hell is the Hitler guy, first, and we found that out pretty quick. I was thinking, I hope that really is him. What if that's not? What if that was just a guy, sitting near the true Hitler guy, and this poor guy got not only removed from a great match, he didn't get to see the end of an incredible tennis match, but he got booed by the entire stadium and cheered as he was taken away. So I hope that was actually the Hitler guy. If it wasn't, I feel really bad for the innocent guy who got dragged out of there. Anyways, that was one of my questions. The other question was, what is the most famous Hitler phrase of all? And I was actually, I know a lot about tennis. One thing I also know a lot about is World War II. I'm kind of I like history, and World War II is my favorite part of history to study, to read about. Anyways, I was thinking it was probably what translates to as a song. They would teach school children in Nazi Germany back then to sing this song, and what it translates to is Germany, Germany over everything, which is very on brand for the Nazis, because they really did think a lot of Germans being Ubermensch, superhuman people and all that. So that makes sense that would be their theme song. And it turns out I was right. That's what the song was. Here we go to ITVX. German tennis star Alexander Zverev has fan removed from US Open match for singing a Hitler anthem. It's not really a Hitler anthem. It's a German anthem at the time. I mean, it's a Nazi era German anthem, but it's not necessarily about Hitler. I don't exactly know the lyrics to that song, but I've seen in documentaries in the History Channel where they play the little clip where the kids are singing the chorus of it, which translates to, it says it here. He said, Zverev says in the press conference later, he started singing the anthem of Hitler that was back in the day. It was Deutschland über alles, Germany above all, and it was a bit too much, said Sascha Zverev. I love when fans are loud. I love when fans are emotional. But I think me being German, not really proud of that history, it's not really a great thing to do. And I think him sitting in one of the front rows, a lot of people probably heard it. So I just don't react. I think it's bad if I don't react, it's bad from my side. Maybe. Then he says the fan was identified, escorted from the stadium, blah, blah, blah. So then they ask him, how mentally weak do they think pro tennis players are? They asked him, like, Sasha, did it bother you? Did you lose the set? Because he lost that fourth set. Did you lose the set because of the guy singing the Hitler song? And Zverev said, no. He said, this is great. He said, really, it's his loss, to be honest, to not witness the final 2 sets of that match, which is a good point. He was right. So that leads me to my other question I was thinking. Why did that guy do that? What was he thinking? Was he a German guy? I don't know. And was he thinking that Sascha Zverev would like to hear that song because Sascha Zverev is a German guy? He has a German flag by his name, right? And that's where he's wrong. Because as we've learned from Danny Medvedev, there are BS Russians amongst us. And one BS Russian, Stefanos Tsitsipas, who is a Russian guy whose parents moved to Greece. At least he has a Greek dad. He's half Russian. But Zverev is a true BS Russian. Well, he's a true Russian, I guess you could say. He has 2 Russian parents. He speaks Russian, just like Tsitsipas. But they moved to Germany, and he was born in Germany. His older brother actually was born in Russia, but his parents moved him to Germany in time for Zverev to be born as a German. So that fan miscalculated that one because the Russians, it turns out, they fought a war of annihilation, where the Hitler guy and the Germans were trying to annihilate the Russian people or turn them into some kind of slave state for the ones that survived the war. So he really picked the wrong song because it turns out that Russians hate Hitler. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Excited to be here. I'm tired. Don't comment below that, Matt, you look tired. You look terrible. I was up all night watching that match. I didn't get much sleep. Had to get up early. Freaking, in my day, Labor Day, you get 1 day off from school. But these kids, they get Monday and Tuesday off for school. So I got some kids that I got to go to their neighborhood and teach tennis lessons on the hard courts. Then I got to go. Then other kids, that's in one area. The other area where I teach in schools, after-school tennis programs, those kids are back from school. So I got to go over there and do that later. So I don't know how long this show will be. I don't know if the show's going up at night or day. I'm going to do my best to get it up when I can. I might come back later and talk about the Djokovic match. We got a big Djokovic match today, and I want to talk about that first. Like I said, don't comment that I look terrible. Freaking Mr. Goat, he's always getting my goat. You know Mr. Goat, the talking tennis cat. He's asleep right now, of course. But before, he wakes up, he notices I'm up. He says, hey, feed me, feed me. And then he said, hey, are you really going to go do a show looking like that? I said, what, Mr. Goat? What do you mean looking like that? And he said, you look like Hitler in the bunker with the Russians only a couple miles away. You look pretty tired and stressed out. Whoa, I oughta that cat. He's always getting my goat, Mr. Goat. Anyways, let's go on to this. Today, who would have thought Djokovic would beat Fritz? Not many people. But Andy Roddick thinks he's got a chance. And I got to agree with Roddick here. Who would have thought Fritz and Djokovic would be second on in the day session today for the quarterfinal? This is from Tennis 365. Has Taylor Fritz been handed a big advantage ahead of the Novak Djokovic showdown? There were a few raised eyebrows when the US Open order of play for day 9 was released, as Novak Djokovic clash against Taylor Fritzy Boy was penciled in for quite early on Arthur Ashe Stadium. So someone tweets at Andy Roddick, this sucks for Fritz. It's not a night match. He's not going to get the US Open, he's not going to get, Hitler guys in the crowd and a rowdy scene like that, right? He's going to get a very different kind of match, different kind of fan comes to the day match. It gets rowdier at night. More beer drinking and whatever else they drink there. Roddick said, you're wrong. This is better for Fritz. Conditions better for him during the day. He wants as much heat as possible to potentially affect things. Court plays quicker during the day, needs things to be extreme. If I'm him, I'd rather have hit as hot as possible during the day. The reply was, by the way, I want to talk about that Sinner and Zverev match for a little bit today. We're going to get to that next, but let's get through this first. The reply was, hey, Andy Roddick, you're the expert, but it sounds good, but what about the conditioning and the heat? Taylor's in great shape, but versus Novak, everyone knows Novak is like a machine, right? He's so fit. And Roddick said, no, correct. I still think that helps Taylor Fritz as extreme as possible. We want as many extreme factors as possible. And you know what? Like, he's right, because sure, like Djokovic is very fit and he'll probably be able to handle the heat. close to as well, if not better than Taylor Fritz. But if you put Djokovic in good conditions that he likes, close the roof, there's no wind, whatever, it's going to be easier for Djokovic for sure. There's nothing that could possibly get in Djokovic's head and bother him. Whereas Taylor Fritz, he's got Djokovic there. That's enough to be in your head and bother you. So in a match like that where you feel like you probably should lose, or at least you're definitely the big underdog, you want anything crazy going on possible. Like maybe you do want the Hitler guy in the crowd. You want anything that might distract your opponent who is the big favorite over you. I still like Djokovic to win. Even in faster conditions, it doesn't guarantee that Taylor Fritz is going to win, but it might make it harder to return that serve. Now, we did see against Goyo, Djokovic was backing up like Medvedev to the wall sometimes. So maybe Djokovic will back up. Maybe we'll see an adjustment like that if Taylor Fritz is bringing a lot of heat on the serve. Expect to get different looks from Djoker, and I still expect him to win, but it will be challenging, and maybe it'll hurt Djokovic. I think part of it was conditions when 2021, when Medvedev took out Djokovic. I think it was the combination of going to Japan where it was very humid and playing in those tough conditions, and then going right to the US Open and playing in very humid, hot conditions. Again, having that tough match with Zverev right before. I told you guys Zverev would win, didn't I? So let's get on to that. Winners to unforced errors. Zverev plus 10, 56 over 46. Sinner, -17, 50 winners on 67 unforced errors. I got to go soon, but maybe I'll come back and do a little bit of a audio-only voiceover to talk about the Djokovic match with Fritz. We'll add that to the show. I think I'm going to do that. We'll talk a little bit about this more, but I'll say one thing. I'm shocked. Early in the match, Brad Gilbert, Patrick McEnroe, Chris Fowler, they were saying how, Zverev is still on the comeback trail. He's playing great level again, but maybe he can't dig deep in best of five because he just doesn't have many long best of five matches since he got hurt playing Rafa in a best of five match. It looked like he might win. I thought Zverev might win that match. In the middle of that match, of course, I picked Rafa before. But anyways, that's shocking to me because Sinner, the reason why I had him going down, especially here with the humid conditions, anytime Sinner is pushed really hard in a long match, even in best of three sometimes, I saw it in Rotterdam. Those were indoor conditions, and Sinner comes out playing great, beats Medvedev pretty bad in the first set. Remember, I was there at Rotterdam for the final. And somewhere in the second set, Sinner just looked like he was cramping. He looked like he was having issues with cramping with his legs. And Medvedev just pushed him too hard. He played it at an excellent level. He looked like he should win. This is why years ago I said Sinner's going to be the chosen one, the golden child. He's going to rule tennis. But no, not really because of this. He's too skinny, not enough muscles. I'm not quite sure what it is. That physiotherapist guy should have a better idea. I'm curious to see what happens to him. Does he get fired over this? We've seen some coaches get fired. Like Tsitsipas got rid of Mark Philippoussis right away. He said, "You're not my dad," and he fired him. Anyways, I don't know what he said, but he got rid of him, and his dad will probably be back. Won't be surprised to see Steph's dad back. Maybe he'll fire the girlfriend. I saw a headline today that said Paula Badosa, I think that's her name. Yeah, Tsitsidosa is their Instagram account. She said, "I will stay with Tsitsipas as long as he wants to be with me," which is kind of an interesting thing to say when you're in a relationship with someone. Maybe he's really upset right now and he's not talking to her, so she got a little panicked. I don't know. Anyways, but I was shocked to hear them talking about how Zverev might not be able to keep up physically with Sinner. I was thinking, no way. I mean, yeah, Zverev did get gassed and looked like he could barely survive, but in the fifth set, I had no doubt. I mean, I thought he'd finish him in 4. But I had no doubt that Zverev was going to win that fifth set. I actually went to bed. I didn't see what happened in the fifth set. So comment below if something crazy happened that I missed. But I saw the fourth set. I saw a little bit of the beginning of the fifth set, and I was like, I know what's going to happen here. Sinner's toast. It's amazing what Sinner did, just willing himself through that fourth set and the way his body was feeling. But I've seen it too many times. I guess he needs to beef up, put some more muscle on Sinner's legs. But this happens a lot. Like I said, indoors in Rotterdam. It happened against Medvedev. He got pushed hard. I knew it was going to happen. As soon as he was in a really tough best of 5 with a really tough opponent, that it was very likely to happen here at the US Open too, especially with all the humidity and how much you're going to sweat. Anyways, I still love Sinner. I hope they sort it out and that he is able to do this. I was thinking, like, what about Gilles Simon? Remember how skinny his legs were? But you know what? He didn't play the power tennis that Sinner plays. That's the thing. When you're going to push the ground that hard with your legs to whip your hips and your shoulders to the ball and crush the ball like that over and over again, I think it's more demanding on those skinny little legs that Sinner has than Jill Simone. So maybe it has something to do with that. I can't say I've never really had many problems with cramping. Even playing here in Georgia in the summers where it's so hot and humid, cramping always usually happens to me on the drive home from the match or right after I get home. You try to get out of the car, you've been sitting a while, then you get the painful cramps. So I don't know, man. I don't have skinny legs, so can't help you with that one.
And we're back. I am so freaking dedicated to this program, the Coffee Break Tennis program. I am in a car. Just finished teaching some kids. I got to watch a lot of the Djokovic match, actually. I got to watch a good bit considering how busy I was. I watched some in the car driving. I watched some I'm on court. I'm feeding balls. I'm like, shut up, you stupid kid. I'm watching a tennis match. Just, you. Okay, I didn't really do that. But I watched as much as possible. And I feel like such an idiot, man. Like, you see Andy Roddick, and you respect his opinion. You think, like, okay, if Andy Roddick's saying these conditions are going to help Taylor Fritz and make it a match. Djokovic didn't even play well, and he destroyed Taylor Fritz. And, when I made my draw, I'm looking at this. I'm saying, okay, I see the Taylor Fritz-Djokovic matchup happening. I see Fritz playing well enough to get there. And I'm thinking, Djokovic is going to destroy this loser. And, of course, he did. 6-1, 6-4, 6-4. Note to self, in the future, when Andy Roddick says, oh, this American player might be able to do something against Djokovic because of some kind of conditions, yeah, it ain't happening, as Djokovic famously said at Wimbledon. Alcaraz, maybe. Taylor Fritz, no way. No way. Anyways, I'm in a car. I'm dedicated to the cause. I'm recording a little extra to tack on to that video I recorded this morning. And we'll talk a little bit about Djokovic and Taylor Fritz, but not much, because what's the story there? It's Taylor Fritz. He's 0-8 against Djokovic. He'll never beat Djokovic in his life. When Taylor Fritz beat Rafa Nadal had to be thinking, man, these injuries are too frequent. Do I really want to lose to people like Taylor Fritz? Maybe I should retire. Is this what it's all about? No, it's not about this. Djokovic, I predict, will never lose to Taylor Fritz. If Djokovic loses to Taylor Fritz, Djokovic will be retiring soon after. Anyways, Ben Shelton, TFO, that's going to happen soon. Women's match will be happening first. I'm really excited for that match. They've never played before. I think Shelton has so much star power. And, he hasn't won 2 matches in a row, but I've seen him show up at places. He's on grass. He's on clay. Showing up at places he's never played before. Before he went to the Australian Open this year, the guy had never left the USA. Kind of like me. I'd never left the U.S. before. I went to the Bahamas once, but with Pete, 2018. Then I came back to see Federer in Miami, and what do you know? He lost to Kokkinakis in the first round. That sucked. But the Bahamas was cool. Anyways, like me, I never had left the U.S. until last year. I went to France, La France, with my brother. It was great. And Das Nederland, too. It was very cool. Everything was super cool. Anyways, what was I going to say about this thing? Oh, yeah. So TFO tonight and Ben Shelton. Ben Shelton had never left the country before. Goes to Australia. I love how he's got a quarterfinal there. He's got a quarterfinal here. So it's bookended. If he goes January next year to the Australian Open, loses first round, he's still going to have a pretty good ranking because he's got quarterfinal points here. And I think he's got a great shot to get semifinal points. He's 5 years younger. TFO's 25. And, right there in that Zverev age group, kind of. And Shelton's right there in the Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner age group at age 20. Jannik Sinner would have loved having a serve like Ben Shelton. That would have come in handy last night, huh? Sinner serving a lot better, but Ben Shelton's serve is special. It is kind of like an Andy Roddick serve. Anyways, I'm excited for this match, and I just have this feeling like I feel like Ben Shelton's going to break out tonight, and he's going to get this win. Tifo's great, but Ben Shelton, he's got that big weapon that's going to be a big factor, and he's really should feel no pressure here. Where did Tiafoe go last year? He went to the semifinals. He beat Nadal, an injured Nadal. Does Nadal really want to do this anymore? Lose to the guys like Fritz and Tiafoe? Losing to Ben Shelton might be something different. This guy, I think he has more upside. But last year, semifinals for TFO. So that's some pressure there to do it again, and he says he has unfinished business. Let's put some pressure on himself. Shelton, not much pressure. As Ben Shelton said, we don't panic in my box, right? When things are going wrong, me and my dad, my coaches, We don't panic. I think he's going to play pretty loose and free like he did with TP Thomas Paul. And I give him a great chance to win tonight. Again, like, you know, TFO should win. He has all this experience. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about the match, actually. You know, we haven't had an American player to be excited about in a while. And, you know, we've had Taylor Fritz. Ben Shelton, I think he's pretty cool. A lot of excitement. I remember when I saw him in Cincinnati, I walked past him. I talked about it a little bit in Cincinnati. I walked past him. He kind of nodded at me. I kind of nodded at him. And he looks huge. He's 6'4". You know, I'm 6'1.5", like Roger Federer. And I looked at him. I was like, man, this guy's huge. I didn't realize he was so big. I looked it up, and it's like, oh, shit, he's 6'4". Shiza. Shouldn't say that. Anyways, excited for that match. Let's go back. I'm going to look at some stats of Taylor Fritzy Boy and Novak Djokovic. Man, Djokovic, not even playing well, destroys the guy. You know, it's funny because, like I was saying, one of the reasons why I said, like, hey, maybe conditions will get the Joker because it's so hot and it's humid. And I'm thinking about last year, and I got to remind myself, you know, I've seen it with Rafa, I've seen it with Roger, I've seen it with Joker before. Just because they have a bad result, it doesn't mean like it can happen again a year or 2 years later. You know, like it's not, it's very infrequent when this happens. You know, like the bad things barely happen in their careers. Most of the time, it's excellence, it's victories, it's Grand Slam trophies, obviously, because he got 23 of them. Federer's got 20. Rafa's, he's at 22. So anyway, I love Djokovic's chances to get 24, and maybe Alcaraz can get him in the final. We'll see what Zverev can do, but I think, you know, Zverev used up a lot of energy to beat Sinner, so I think he's probably going to get swept aside by Alcaraz. We'll see if Medvedev can be some danger. Anyways, I'm looking at the stats here, and Djokovic, negative. 25 winners on 26 unforced errors. But Fritz is 33 on 51. That's a lot worse. You know, Taylor Fritz with your big serve, 8 aces. Djokovic had 7, completely nullified. 2 doubles, a lot of doubles from Joker, 5. Like I said, Joker did not play his best. He won less first serve points than Taylor Fritz. He got more first serves in, and he destroyed him on second serve, right? He was eating Taylor Fritz's second serve for breakfast. 28% win on second serve points from Taylor Fritz. 57 win on second from Djokovic. Break points saved. Only 2 breaks against Joker. 12 chances. Couldn't convert 10 times. Only 2 times he converts. As far as when Taylor Fritz is serving, Djokovic converts 6 out of 9. Suck on that, Taylor Fritz. You're gone. Anyways, that's all I had to say about that. I just wanted to tack that on to the show. I'm trying to think. Oh, one more thing. I know some people are probably going to comment something like, hey, Matt, you know, German people are very sensitive about stuff from their past. So if someone thinks, and, you know, that tells me it's true. It is true. I know that's true. That guy who sang, you know, the Hitler song and Zverev had him kicked out, I don't think that guy's German, because if he was German, he'd know, like, hey, this doesn't fly with German people. I think he knew a little bit about history like me, and he thought this would be funny, and maybe Zverev would think it was funny, and he was dead wrong. But yeah, I think some people might say, Matt, you know, it's not because Zverev is Russian. Plenty of German, you know, if it was Altmaier, you know, if it was Tommy Haas, they might have a similar reaction too. I agree. I think most Germans would be like, you know, this is bad. I don't want to hear this. I'm going to tell the umpire. But I think the Russian angle makes it worse. You know, even though Zverev grew up speaking German in Germany and Russian, speaking Russian too, growing up. Hit the music because we're getting out of here. I feel like those 2 Russian parents told him some things as he grew up about Germans. You know, it might have even, and this is just speculation. I don't know anything about this. I'm just speculating here. But I think they might even gone as far to say, like, hey, don't trust these Germans. These freaking Germans that we live amongst. Yeah, it sucks in the Soviet Union. That's why we moved here. But never forget that these Germans tried to come to our country and kill all of us. Anyways, I think it's highly likely that Zverev, you know, might have heard some stuff like that from his parents. And I don't blame him one bit. It's absolutely true. Obviously, the Germans today are not the same Germans from almost a freaking 100 years ago. But it is a thing that happened in history, and we should all be aware of it. Anyways, thanks for joining me today on Coffee Break Tennis. I'm going to try to get a video up tomorrow morning and talk about this TFO match with Ben Shelton. I hope it's a great match. If Ben Shelton wins, I'll never call him Blake Shelton again. It was just a joke. He'll be Ben Shelton forever if he can win this and get to the semifinals. That's going to be awesome. All right, we will be back tomorrow, and of course, I'm going to New York. Look forward to that. I'm gonna try to make something amazing while I'm in New York. I have some ideas. I think it's gonna be very funny. I hope I do a good job and I can pull it off. I'm only there for like 2.5 days, but I'm gonna bust my ass like Novak Djokovic for you people to make something great in New York City. See ya!